Hello, everybody. It's James here, WSI. Yes, I've got a tan, but no, you can't tell because there's a bright light shining on me. It's washing my skin out. But never mind about that because my guest this week, he is buff. He is the stuff. He is Buff Bagwell here with me. How you doing, my friend?
Hey man, how's it going, guy? Man, it's just thank you for having me.
One take.
One take wonder, baby.
There you go. So you are a one-take wonder, as you say. Promos, right? Do you know, I was going to ask something completely different because you said one-take wonder. I don't, in the early days, I don't remember many promos from you, but you became one of the better promos in WCW, and I don't think you get the plaudits for it. Who's maybe responsible for sort of bringing up your talking game?
Me. straight up. I mean, I never wrote down. I wrote down one interview, one promo that was real deep when Scott Steiner went out and dogged me out to a crowd when we were kind of on the outs. And I really wanted to nail this one. So I had Eric Watts help me do it. And we actually wrote it down, studied it. And so I went over it so I could go out and nail it. And I nailed it. It was the one that I did with Scotty, with Scott Steiner's, blonde hair. And I did the same beard and all that. And, if you close your eyes and picture the perfect man. I mean, I actually became him, bro. That's hard to do, but it's live TV, brother. That's why I call it one take wonder, because it's live.
Exactly.
If you trip and fall, you trip and fall.
As Vince McMahon always says, nothing can go wrong on live television.
No, absolutely not.
Whatever you did, it was meant to be.
Yes.
Right, so I'm going to be talking through the whole career. We'll be picking and choosing some of the best questions, hopefully some that you've not heard before, and we'll go through that. But for starters, I talked to Diamond Dallas Page not too long ago. He told me that you were staying with him. You're going to be doing a show together. I think Butterbean's there as well in the house, as far as like a reality TV type situation where guys and girls are getting clean.
The name of the show is called Change or Die.
It is indeed. So with Change or Die, we were just talking off air before where you said you weren't that bad, but you were bad enough that you definitely needed to change. So what was the pre-buff Bagwell before you went on the show?
It was more to show the fans and my friends that A, I wasn't as bad as they thought. And B, just to show them, that I'm willing to show you 90 days and do the right thing. And that's a big deal. I mean, I used to wear sunglasses, but now I want people to see me, see my face and see that I'm, excited. And I mean, I just got off a flight and my day started at 4:00 this morning with 3 hours sleep and all that, but that don't matter. It's game time, so I'm just, I just really just wanted to prove to the fans that, that Buff is still here, and it worked. And at the same time that happened, then Dallas came along with the Change or Die. And it was just it was perfect time to hop in that. And then Twitter went crazy and everything else went crazy. And there it went.
I hope this isn't too terribly a personal question, but what were your vices that you were struggling with before in the interim period?
Mine is, believe it or not, mine is not alcohol. Mine's mine was, which is almost every wrestler's, and that's somas. Somas are you got to realize, we went off the air at midnight like this, like. And we got to work again tomorrow. So we're not going to sit there and drink a 12-pack of beer. That's just stupid. So you could take a couple somas, have a couple of beers, calm down, let your heart settle down, some muscle relaxer, and then be more, and also you're hungry, you sleep good. And so it was a really addictive pill because of all those things I just said. And so a lot of the wrestlers went that route to come down from that level of just being at midnight wide open. Because keep in mind, I woke up straight to the gym, straight to tan, do all the stuff that I put out there in front of everybody, which was Buff Bagwell. So.
Can I ask this then? Because we're also going to bring up your podcast. I generally don't do plugs and stuff, but I will for you. Rebuilding Buff, as you said, this was the catalyst for then you going on the DDP show. When the podcast originally came out, it was billed as something like where Buff sort of like rebukes some rumours or maybe stories that are around him that you think are untrue or you'd like to redress. Were there any like specific things that you had in mind where you thought stuff floating around that's not true?
There really was. It was just a lot of heat and a lot. To be honest with you, it was all lies. And not, I can't say all lies, but I'm saying in the high 80s, it was definitely not, what I was doing. The train got on me and they stayed on me until, I said, I got to do something about this.
Yeah. What are the things that, or any specific stories that really bug you that you've gone out and said, this is not true, this is what really happened?
Yeah. You never hear no show with me. I always, no matter what, I never miss a show, ever. There's only not even a handful of guys that something happened. Life does happen. And maybe 2 or 3 guys that I know showed. And, but so it wasn't like that. It was more, Bub's hard to deal with, which if you get a chance to meet me, I'm the nicest guy in the world. It was just stuff that didn't make sense, or was it the truth? And so I said, look, let's do this rebuilding Buff and show everybody that at least I'm going to try to fix what they think is wrong. At the same time, don't get me wrong, I had some issues that I needed to fix too, but it wasn't as heavy, as deep as me doing it for the fans and my friends to show dedication of what this business meant to me and what they meant to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that's absolutely fair enough. We're going to go to the career now, some more cheery stories, hopefully. And I hadn't realised Global Wrestling Federation. It's just one of those. It's one of those like sort of like semi-indies. That there's a few episodes on the network, but for the most part, it's just something in the past that doesn't really get reshown. I believe that, is it true that Missy Hyatt discovered you?
Yes.
How did she discover you?
We moved into a really, really high, real fancy, high-end apartment complex called Popular Place. And it's by Kennesaw State College, Kennesaw State, university. They're a university now. They were just state, but now they're a big, university. And so we moved in there. And I was believe it or not, I'm a licensed massage therapist. I went to the Atlanta School of Massage, and it was about I think it was like an 8-month thing. It's a pretty intense thing. They're really trying to clean it up from the masseuse word to the massage therapist to all that. So, it just, it was a good time to get in it. And I was watching all these guys and women that wasn't very attractive and kind of was, like, heavy set or skinny and, just everything opposite from me, which I didn't judge them for that. I just went, if they're making that kind of money, I'm gonna blow this out of the water, man. I mean, with my Southern hospitality and my Southern voice and me being in shape and all that, I thought for sure it's gonna be just a complete, just unbelievable,
Shall I pause this for a second while you get that?
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't know about that at all. If I could reach it, I'd do it, but I'd turn it off.
Okay.
But regardless, yeah, it just, I'm in the middle of that, of thinking I was going to be rich from massage therapy and going to probably go into, like a, sports medicine kind of thing. And I'm a big sports freak. I mean, I was all county, all state in football and baseball for 4 years. And so, I want to do something sports related, not just massage. So there was light at the end of the tunnel to make it bigger and better. And then I'm at the pool one day, and way too far to hear each other, I see this really beautiful, big boobed, blonde haired chick. And I'm like, who the hell is that? And at the time I was engaged. Matter of fact, our marriage was getting close to coming up, but we were just engaged at the time. And so I come back from the pool a couple hours later, and I see Missy Hyatt, and don't ask me how. I got a great memory, dude. And we had a room, it was 1504, and she was directly across the hall in 1505 moving in. And at 18, I guess just not being, smart enough or whatever, or naive or whatever you want to call it, it was like, I was like, wow, that's kind of weird. I mean, her moving in right next door to me, that must be strange, because it's a brand new complex. Well, that night, not knock at the door, Missy comes in, and like Missy does, she tells the truth. She goes, listen, and my fiance was there, and she goes, look, today I was at the pool. I saw your fiance, and he, I just was blown away how good he looked, and I was like, man, that guy needs to be a wrestler, And so we didn't know where she was going, and we didn't know who she was at all. And what I've been told 1,000 times, I hate hearing this, is I don't watch wrestling no more. And but I said the same thing, and that was 30 something years ago. And I go, well, Missy, we watched as kids, but I ain't watched wrestling in years. I said, so we wouldn't know you anyway. And she goes, well, I'm just telling you, I think you should get into pro wrestling. And I said, those guys don't make no money. And she goes, our lowest paid guy makes about $100,000 a year. And I went, can we go over that one more time? So we went over it again. And now, with me being the athlete I was, and thinking it was all just being an athlete, which it's not. Wrestling is the hardest sport to be good at, because it takes so many different things. You got to have swag, you got to have charisma, you got to have a look, you got to be able to do these things. Like, for example, if you threw Ric Flair a football, there's no way a spiraled football is going to come back at you.
You might knock the drink out of his hand.
Right. and it switched hands to catch it. And so at the same time, I just knew that, I learned real quick that this was tougher than it was. So I go to my first class. Actually I go see Buddy Lee Parker, Sarge. And he was like, well, for starters, you're not big enough. And I was 220 and jacked. And I go, I'm just as big as Brian Pillman. He goes, well, Brian Pillman can wrestle. I go, how the hell you don't know? How the hell you know that I can't wrestle? I said, we just met. So he backed off a little bit and said, well, it's $3,000. I was like, and this is no power plant. This is a dump, a warehouse dump in Griffin, Georgia. And the ring even looks like this. It had like a dip in it. I don't know why or nothing. And then they were whispering. Kevin Nash and the guy who's working was whispering to me. Whispering in the ring. And I thought, those bastards are talking about me. What they were doing is going over their spots. And kayfabe was a big deal back then. So I tell Missy, and she told me, she said, oh my God, they were just going over their spots and they were just kayfabing and da da da. And so without Missy, I really wouldn't have made it because she told me the facts. She said, they're going to hate your guts. You got to shake everybody's hand when you go in. You got to be as humble as you can be. And I took all of her advice, or I probably wouldn't have made it. But I go to the very first class. Once Missy found me, $3,000 I didn't have. So I said, look, Missy, you got to find me somebody else. So she found a guy named Steve, the Brawler Lawler, and which recently passed away from COVID. And she found him for $1,500. I was able to scratch up that money. And I come back home from the very first, practice. And my wife my fiance is like, oh God, she's already counting $100,000. How'd it go? I went, I'm not going back. I said, I'm not going back. She goes, what? She goes, you can do everything. I go, not this. I said, I've looked at Missy's calendar of what the guys do, on how many days a week they work and stuff. And I go, and I add that to what I just went through one time. And I went, I can't do it. I can't do this. This is too much. And then for some reason, I went back a second day. And then here we are, Absolutely. So yeah, but Missy Hyatt got me in wrestling.
Can I ask you, so when you went to WCW, this is about 6 months after you debuted for Global, and who was the boss at the time? It would have been Jim Herd, wouldn't it?
Dusty.
Well, Dusty was the booker, but was it Jim Herd who was like the vice president, or?
Yeah, but I'll put it this way. I only met him once. So he was on his way out when that happened.
Yeah. Well, I will mention bookers in a minute then. So I was hoping actually you might give me some intel on Kip Fry, who had a couple of months in WCW and then offered a few $1 million contracts and disappeared.
Real simple. He was not his league. He was out of his realm. The rumor even got out that the WWE was wanting me, and So they give me like a $200,000 contract at 20 years old. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me, this is too much, And but he just had he's just a guy that just really wasn't a wrestling fan, and it really did just kind of it really did just do it didn't help him at all. And but at the same time, he was a great guy and all that, but he was just out of his league, I felt.
Is it somebody who maybe wanted to be too friendly with his employees, essentially?
I was too green and too new at it. My first contract I signed was just to go to school for $500 a week. And they came in, and Barry Windham had blew his knee out. And they said, hey, Bagwell, we're going to put you on the road and Barry Windham's spot. So I went to the actual, still wasn't the power plant. It was just a place where we wrestled, and wasn't an actual school yet. And they said, he blew his knee out, and he said, somebody take his place. Can you do it? And I was like, of course, I'd love to. And I knew that was my chance to show them if I could do something or not, and I did. And so from that point on, it kind of escalated.
One of the first tag team partners, maybe even the first semi-regular tag team partner you had, was actually Tom Zenk. And there's somebody who I always thought, man, he's got the looks, he's got a great body, good wrestler. And
Mr. Minnesota, bro.
Mr. Minnesota. Oh, right, so he's a professional physique type.
Yeah.
So how come you ended up just like starting tagging with him? Was this like, the veteran showing the rookie the ropes? And
don't know. They just told me what to do, and you do it because you're green and a rookie, and it made sense. There's a magazine article that we did where he was like showing me how to work the arm, and showing how to do this, and showing, just kind of teaching me, the more, the better wrestler was showing the younger wrestler how to do it, But at the same time, you got to realize I was having, the best of the best. I was wrestling with the best of the best guys in the world. Your Bobby Eaton's, your stunning Steve Austin's, your, Larry Zbysko's, your Arn Anderson's, your Bobby Eaton's, your, it was just unbelievable. Terry Taylor's, just top talent. Greg Valentine's. So the good news with me is I didn't really know what I was doing, but I could do everything. I could do anything they wanted. So I actually fit into a spot that wasn't good, but it was a spot that allowed me to,
flourish.
When you come back from a commercial break and they go, the guy's in the ring, and that guy's going to lose. Me and Sting are the reason that stopped, because it's just so stupid. I mean, everybody knew the guy in the ring was going to get beat if he didn't have an intro, and they were called job guys. Well, the name got switched to enhancement guys, and from the enhancement guys, it just they started caring and tanning, and their outfits got better, and they got entrances, and it just made it a lot more better.
Who was your favorite jobber? Because my favorite at the time was that rip off of Hulk Hogan, who looked like Hulk Hogan if you shrunk him in a dryer.
Mine was a guy named Bob Cook. He had a really good punch, but God, there's so many I wouldn't remember them, but Bob Cook was one of the best ones. He was really good.
Very good. I shall move on then to one of your more famous tag team partners in Scorpio. And I take it you guys are cool now because you're on the same show at the same weekend.
Do you know we've never talked about it? Never even talked about it.
What is it specifically? Because I solicited questions.
I wish I knew.
Oh.
He didn't bring it up. I didn't bring it up. So he was just all over me like we used to be as friends. And I was friends back to him and we just didn't talk about it. So I don't know. I really don't know. I was so shocked at what he did that I just couldn't believe it. And then I came back, with something to rebuttal, and told him I'd knock his teeth down his throat next time I saw him. Well, the next time I saw him, I had a shoulder replacement. And so he had said, hey, he sent a kid over to me. He goes, ask Bagwell if he still feels the same way about that, knocking my teeth down my throat. And I was like, okay, well then, so we go to eat in the hotel lobby, restaurant. And here he comes walking in. And I got a thing like this. I got a cast on. One of those braces. And I'm like, I got nothing to protect myself or anything. I said, this is crazy, So I put the knife, I got a butter knife and just put it underneath my leg here. So at least I had something to defend myself because I had no idea. For what he said and what he did was way, way too much. And I just didn't get it at the same time. So I didn't know what was coming. He sits down almost knee to knee from me. I'm thinking, what in the hell's going on? And he goes, hey man, how's the shoulder doing? And at that stage, I still didn't know. So I was like, us, man, we're getting older, something like that. And he was like, and his comeback let me know that he was cool. He was like not going to start nothing or try nothing or anything like that. And so it started like that all the way to seeing him at WrestleCons and WrestleCades and everything else. And him just walking up behind me and hugging me and we just became close again. And for a real, really, it was kind of sad to me that we even had those words because I didn't, if there's a problem, why let it wait 10 years or 15 or 20, whatever it was.
Well, for people who don't know, what was the initial source of friction?
That it was something to do with, I asked him to move, keep in mind, hear the word, asked. I asked him, would he mind if Tanya could sit up? I want my first wife because she set up in first class with me. And I had her first class ticket, but we went and sit next to each other. Well, Scorpio was, I guess, that was the main friction there was that, but I didn't know. Why not just say, no, I don't want to do that.
I best move on then before I reopen old wounds too much. I was thinking back in 94, 95, Cactus Jack, Mick Foley, Triple H, Steve Austin, there's probably a couple more I'm not thinking of at the time, all leave WCW, all great young prospects, to various points, WCW homegrown. Then Hulk Hogan comes in the middle of 94, and then it's the Hulk Hogan show and his friends, Jim Duggan, Randy Savage, Meng, Earthquake, all these guys. And then all the young guys like those, and maybe even you, get pushed down the card in favor of the 80s WWF guys. At the time, did you get worried for your career that you'd be left behind as a young guy?
Absolutely. When Scorpio got fired, I was like, well, I'm done. It's over. And then they brought Dale Wilkes in, and they made it Stars and Stripes. So, and then after Dale got fired, I said the same thing. I was like, now what? Well, then the American Males happened. And then after that happened, NWO happened. So, just all kind of fit together.
With, as I mentioned, those guys before they all left, did it ever, maybe not occur to you, but did you ever think maybe I should try my chances somewhere else, maybe even Japan or somewhere, because it looks like I'm going to be at a certain spot?
I didn't agree to none of those guys leaving. Here you got a guaranteed contract of 150, 175, 200, wherever you were at. But it was at least that. And they're wanting to go up to the WWE where all the superstars are, WWF at the time. And all of them were like adamant about going. And then, so, I talked to them. I just would, out of curiosity, I'd be like, what are you doing? We wrestle twice a week. We wrestle at Center Stage, which is 30 minutes from my house. I go, twist my arm, right? But they just didn't see it that way. And they left, and they all got very successful from it, So
you were never tempted. You like guaranteed contract, brilliant. You never tempted to search other avenues?
Never.
No, absolutely. Then.
Sure. Keep in mind, I was, even at 23, I was tag team of the year, rookie of the year, a couple tag team championships already. So it was going great for me. Jericho was unhappy, and Mick Foley was unhappy because of his ear. He wanted to use his ear as part of his gimmick, which was Mankind later on. But I tried to tell him, they said, look, dude, we're G-rated. We can't have a chopped off ear on our show, so he left because of it and then became Mankind.
These were the days when WCW was still referring to foreign objects as international objects because they thought they'd offend foreign people somehow without quite knowing what the word foreign really meant in that context.
Well, actually, you just taught me something. I didn't know that.
I'll ask you this. Because you mentioned Center Stage, I'll bring up the Block Disney MGM recording sessions where you'd record 12 episodes in, a couple of days. And for those who don't know, they would be complete messes, these things, because you'd have to plan 3 months in advance. Titles would be lost before they'd be won on TV.
And if somebody gets injured, how are you going to let them, play their wrestling match,
Sid got fired.
Yeah. So it was really a, kind of a ballsy thing. They did finally fizzle out because of that, I remember being all tag team champions, and I came out to wrestle a match and to have a belt because I wasn't tag team champions when we taped the match. So it's just too many things that can go wrong.
Did you? I'm trying to think who else got fired. A couple of things actually I'll ask about this is one, were there any favorite either botches of logic where just something went completely wrong, as you say, someone got fired, or even I know this, that you were sent out at certain times to retake matches because cameras weren't rolling. Any particular like WCW typical botches of that nature that you remember?
The only one I ever had was Greg Valentine. I was arguing with Terry Taylor, and Valentine came out and jumped me from behind for his debut to WCW. And something didn't go right. I can't remember what it was that Dusty didn't like. So we reshot it in front of 1,000 people. And I was like, Dusty, these 1,000 people, we're telling them wrestling's fake. I mean, we're telling them straight to their face. And he said, no, he said, trust me, brother. He goes, you, he said, I'm worried about the 20 million, not the 1,000. And so but on my part and how I was brought into the business, I was really uncomfortable to do the exact same thing in front of the exact same people and doing it twice. You know, it was a little bit embarrassing.
Yeah. One more thing about this, and then I'll play a little a name game with you. But I've got to ask this. I've heard once before that basically everybody at these tapings were hungover because they started in the morning. Is that about true?
No, that's not true. We didn't start in the morning. And I take it back. In MGM, we did start in the morning. But like the center stage was always kind of at night. It was nighttime. But yeah, but hungover and all that, that's back when I didn't drink or anything. I was going to be a pro wrestler and in the best shape I could be in. And, you know, Marcus Alexander Bagwell was going to be successful and all that. So nobody was really into drinking that much back then. And then it slowly, when you get to the building at 12 and you don't go on until 8, I mean, what do you do, man? It gets boring, and boredom is, you know, it's Satan, really. Boredom is Satan. And that's, you know, it makes, you know, your mind starts wandering, and I go over here and have a few beers and relax, or just sit here and look at the walls of the locker room, you know. So it was just kind of crazy they did that way. But yeah, no, I don't remember that, or nobody got in trouble for it. But there was definitely times that, you know, I'm sure guys did.
It was they say idle hands are the devil's plaything. Is a good saying.
Right.
I shall move on. Name association is one of two games we're going to play together, and they're basically the same thing. I'm going to give you a sentence, a descriptor, and you tell me the person that you've worked with or that you knew in the business that most aptly fits that description. And the first one is funniest person in the locker room.
Funniest person in the locker room?
Yeah.
Kevin Nash.
Any particular jokes he used to say, or just his general manner?
No, just his attitude. He it was just his demeanor. Kevin Nash is really one of the coolest guys in the world. He's got a great sense of humor. He's funny, and you wouldn't see that from a 7 foot, 350-pound guy. But at the same time, you know, he just put out that persona, man, that was cool.
The next one is last man standing at the bar.
Flair.
Did you see the usual Flair tray of kamikazes over his shoulder or in the potted plants? Did you witness that yourself?
No.
Oh, okay. Most beautiful Nitro girl.
I think probably Shay.
Which one's Shay? Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Asian a little bit.
Yeah, that's the right answer. Well done.
Yeah.
Biggest bully.
I mean, I love them. I love them both to death, and we're super friends. But bully wise, was your Steiner boys, your Steiner brothers. They just every time they came by you, they hit you, or they, put your hand down your neck, and they didn't realize how strong they were, so they were hurting you, but they didn't mean that really. They wasn't like bullying. They were just playing, but it was always something. I mean, if I saw them coming, I'd leave the room, so I didn't get hurt.
Did you ever find anybody duct taped to a bench or anything of that persuasion where the Steiners had caught them up?
I personally watched them do that to Disco. They duct taped him what's it called when your legs are back and your feet are back and they're tied?
Oh, like hog-tied.
Like hog-tied, exactly. And they were trying to shove a Sharpie up his, what. And I was just new on the scene. And I just remember reaching down as cool and calm as I could. I ended up in the A locker room like by accident. And I got my bags and just eased out the door. So I realized I was next,
Did I take it Did Disco get away unviolated, or did you not stick around to see the ending?
He didn't get violated, but it was pretty rough.
So it does sound like, it might even be the same answer, maybe not. The most legitimate, tough badass.
Barbarian or Ming. Yeah.
Any first-hand anecdotes, or are these all third-hand?
No, like I saw Ming one night with one handcuff on, fighting, like 10 cops with pepper spray and all that, and didn't faze him, bro. He just kept coming. He just kept coming. He just kept coming, man.
The smelliest wrestler you ever wrestled?
Stevie Ray.
Well, I've never had anyone answer me so quickly. Is it really burned into your memory?
I can't remember what city even. We was in White, Georgia, and at a house show, and me and Scorpio were having to wrestle him. And I said, Stevie, are you kidding me? I said, dude, your elbow pad, your knee pad. I go, I mean, tell me you're joking. Because I'm the one that's got to smell it. You don't care, I guess. But I do. So he told me, he said, well, I just came home and just threw my bag down, didn't wash any clothes, and kept his bag zipped up for a week. And then went to the next house show, unzipped it, and got his stuff out. It was just dirty, stinky. God, I'll never forget it. Even Booker was like, God dang, man, do something, man.
I don't know if you were married at the time, but it may be hypothetical. But the town with the most eager ladies or groupies, or however you want to use the term.
God, there really wasn't. I mean, my ex-girlfriend even asked me one time, she goes, have you ever got dressed to go out to be with a woman? And I'd never been asked that question. And I went, I said, first of all, it's a great question. I go, but before I could even answer it, she comes out with, I know that answer. And the answer is no. And I go, you're exactly right. I said, when I went out with my buddies. if a chick happened to fall into the mix and ended up back in my bed at home, that just happened. I didn't plan on going out and hooking up that night because I didn't have to. B, it was, it wasn't a cocky thing. It wasn't I just didn't look at it like that. I wanted to have fun with my buddies. And that's what was partying to me. And so that's why I don't really, recall, that.
Yeah. The hardest chair swinger.
Everybody's pretty good with that. But the hardest one, God, I don't know. I really don't know that answer. I'd be lying.
Okay, I'll move on then. The most talented wrestler you ever worked with?
Ric Flair.
Hands down, easiest?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Most overrated wrestler in WCW?
Most overrated?
Yeah. Pushed beyond their ability, maybe.
There were several of those. But like one is a guy named, I'll never forget, one guy was, he was the piano guy.
The maestro.
Maestro.
Yeah.
And I just went, and they had me losing to him one night. And I went to Eric Bischoff and I go, Eric, I said, are you kidding me? I said, this guy looks like a sack of potatoes. I said, he plays a piano with candelabras. I said, please, dude. I said, just think what you're doing. You're pushing a guy that ain't really over. And he's beating a pretty good name. Marcus Alexander Bagwell, and that's just not right. So, but they switched it around and didn't have me lose to him, and he, I know this is going to go nationwide. And I'm not trying to hurt his feelings and all that, but man, he goes by Stro now, and he's just a really weird cat. I can't explain it except that. It's not, he's mean. He's actually super nice to everybody. He's a great guy, but he's just a weird cat. Like he'd go to the gym for like 4 hours. And I promise you that whole 4 hours, he was wasting his time. It was exercises and stuff that was so stupid. And so like he'd make up stuff that wasn't even doing anything for him. Like I say, he looked like a sack of potatoes. It wasn't like he had a body. Never. Still don't.
I'll give you two more, and then I'll move on. Craziest thing that you saw on an overseas tour?
I'd probably be the one. I'd probably be the one I talk about.
Overseas tour. Okay, so is there something specific that you did on an overseas tour that?
This wasn't that crazy or anything. It was just the boys being boys. But I remember, Jerry Lawler's kid, Chris, what's his name?
Brian Christopher,
super great. We loved each other. Great guy, super great guy. And we got an argument over who could win a 40-yard dash. And we're at a little pub somewhere in Germany. And I said, well, let's just find out. He smoked me, dude. I mean, he smoked me. He's an athlete, bro. I mean, Brian Christopher's an athlete. And so he just smoked me, bro.
I will end on this last one. The most memorable backstage fight.
That's easy. That was Vader and Paul Orndorff.
A lot of people.
I was right there and saw the whole thing, and Sullivan, we were trying to break it up, and Sullivan was our promoter and our booker at the time. And everybody was, he was like getting everybody away to let them fight. And Orndorff got the best of Vader, but then they tied back up again. And then Vader kind of had him in a corner. And I was like, oh God, no. So that's when we broke it up, when Vader had him in the corner,
The story that generally goes is that most people say that Orndorff won the entire fight and Vader didn't have a chance. And only Vader has said what you've said just then.
Really?
Yeah, as far as I can tell, yeah. I don't think many people believe that Vader got the best of Orndorff.
Keep in mind, I was there. I was watching it, So, I mean, Paul Orndorff was kicking him like with boots, but he was barefooted, and like dog cussing him while I was doing it, and got Vader, and Vader blindsided him like with like a big bear paw, boom, and Paul had, lost the nerves in his arm. His arm was getting small, and he had the old man glasses, kinda, and he fell out of his flip flops when he got hit by Vader, and everybody kind of went, "Oh, poor Paul." And then all of a sudden, the hell with poor Paul. He was all over Vader, dude. He was all over him.
When I'd like to know a bit more about the fight, actually. How did the fight manifest? Was it mostly strikes? Was it mostly tying up, wrestling, and jostling around? What was the, if he was calling the fight?
What happened exactly was Paul was coming downstairs to tell Vader he had an interview to do. And he came down once. I was in the locker room. Came down twice. The third time he came down, he said, Leon, he goes, dude, he goes, they need you to do a commercial. He goes, tell them that I'm busy right now, old man. And I was like, what the hell? And then Paul turns and Vader like sneak punches him, kind of, but bear paws him, kind of like it's a big forearm across the face. And it didn't knock him down, but it just knocked his glasses off, and it knocked off a couple other things, and shoes came off. He came out of his flip flops, and everybody was like, "Oh man, poor Paul." And then it was just boom, 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 and he went down, and he was kicking him and cussing him, but then once we got it separated, Vader did get him hooked up into the corner, and it was no doubt that Orndorff couldn't have, held up with that too much longer.
Yeah. So, something that I'm quite keen to know about is you joined the NWO, you turned bad guy, you turn on your tag team partner, and then you end up hooking up with Scott Norton. How long before you turned bad guy did you know you were going to?
The night it happened. We're in Salisbury, Maryland, and Kevin Nash comes in and goes, "Do you want to be part of the NWO?" And I said, "Of course." So I was like the sixth or seventh guy, before it got watered down and was, all that crazy stuff. And I said, of course, dude, I want to be involved, So they lined up. And that was the night that Eric Bischoff did you got 30 days to join the NWO or you're fired, and da, da, da. And then here come me and Riggs down, So, so it was just the same day, dude, And I thought it was a huge mistake because, me coming back, well, it hadn't happened yet, but during the NWO beginning, when I broke my neck in April of '98, it was like, I could have came back the biggest baby face in the world. And instead, they turned me heel. I mean, I had letters from fighter pilots during Desert Storm that had my picture on the wall and would touch my picture before going out to battle. And, and then I just screwed everybody over, so I didn't have to say so, but really it was my boss that had to say so. And
did people think it was fake? Did people think it was a storyline when you went, "Hey, I'm just kidding," and then turned bad guy again on Rick, I believe, Steiner?
No, they thought the broke neck was. Some people thought the broke neck was fake. And to the point where the insurance company wasn't going to pay WCW. So I had to go out, and we made like just a regular me and Scott Steiner interview out of it. But I remember having to go out and show him my scar on national TV. And saying, if you use it 3, 4, and 6, 7, I said, that's not messy. You can't make one of those scars up, bro. And I remember they wanted me to do something like that, so they got their money to pay back.
What was I mean, you mentioned C6-7. What was the exact nature of the injury? Because for people who don't know, it was a botched top rope bulldog from Rick Steiner, wasn't it? So what was the exact nature of the injury? Did it classify as like a severe stinger? Was it a broken neck, a fractured vertebrae?
Yeah, nowhere near a stinger. I was much more closer to being paralyzed than having a stinger. I mean, I've had 1,000 stingers. Football, baseball, 2 older brothers. I've had a bunch of stingers. This, as soon as I hit the mat, I was face down on the mat, and I was actually smothering. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't move. I'm paralyzed." It wasn't no maybe. It wasn't no you may think this. And so when Rick turns me over to go to start to pin me, because the finish of the match was he goes to pin me, Scott slides in, hits Rick in the back, puts me on top, and WO wins. And they just, as soon as I got to here, I went, "I'm paralyzed." And his eyes were like, got that big. And he was like, "Keep in mind, there's live cameras everywhere. So what do we do? I mean, it is what it is. What do we do?" So he, we just kept it going. But I'm going, if you watch it back, I'm going, "Don't touch me, don't touch me. I'm paralyzed. I'm paralyzed." I'm talking the whole time. You can see it, that camera view. And but Rick had needed a shoulder surgery on his left shoulder, because when 280 pounds is coming behind you, if you don't grab and take you down, it's kind of hard to judge it, So he came up and missed me. And when he did, I just tried to catch up. So at least the announcer's going to say something like, "Oh, he halfway caught him with that bulldog, something like that." But as I went to him, he hit the mat and came back into me, and my head went whap that way real quick. And it was just, I was like, "Oh my God, I'm smothering." And he was like, "Oh man," he goes, they're like, "You'll be okay." And they're talking to me, and I'm not crying, or it's so surreal that it just is what it is. But what happened medically is I bruised my spinal cord. In other words, when that cervical disc hit my cord, instead of severing it and me being paralyzed for the rest of my life, and your spinal cord is the exact same. Doctors told me this. It's the exact same material of like a unfrozen hot dog. So it's not too hard for a bone to go through a hot dog, you know? And so very lucky. And just, but when it hit and when it swells, you as the person that's it's swelling to, you think 100% you're paralyzed. So 2 hours later goes by. I'm duct taped down to everything. I can move my fingers and my toes, and I ain't stopping. And so they actually see all those CAT scans, MRIs, and all that stuff. I came in, and he goes, he came in the room, the doctor did, and he goes, all right, won't you set up for me? And I went, what? I was just paralyzed just 2 hours ago. He said, trust me, I'll explain in a minute, just stand up. So I kind of, slowly raised up, feeling everything. I can feel everything, and everything feels kind of normal. And I'm going, okay, all right. And then I stood up on the ground, and next thing you know, I'm doing my strut and I'm posing, like, what happened? He goes, and he told me about the swelling. And when the swelling goes down, then you get your feeling back. So what made me not know that was how it worked. I thought I was paralyzed forever, but I was only paralyzed for like 11 minutes, which seems like forever.
Yeah. It goes to show you, just even like routine stuff you've done 100 times before, anything can go wrong, and it's one of the most dangerous things in the world to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You touched on it before. I would like to make mention of it again. And I even wrote this as a sort of analogy to a point, is when you came back from the broken neck, you had so much public sympathy and momentum behind you. And the powers that be just put you back to where you were before teaming with Scott Steiner. And I was thinking, if they'd let you be a good guy and go against the NWO like you wanted to, like logic should have dictated, you could have been like DDP, Diamond Dallas Page, the year before, who went from sort of mid-card to just the title 2 years later. And that could have been you for the 98 version.
That's so true, bro. It's so true, too, because, you got to realize, I actually bought my lot to my house that day. I stroked out an $88,000 check that day and drove straight to Columbia, South Carolina, and got paralyzed. So it just, or got injured. And, but it was just bizarre, how it all came down. It really was. But I could have been the biggest babe face in the world if they would have pushed it. Who
argued against you remaining a good guy?
I didn't argue it. I just didn't want. I didn't. That's the kind of stuff that I get heat for, and I wasn't gonna get heat, and I just said, okay, if that's what you want, all right,
So was this an Eric Bischoff directive, and he wanted it, or do you know if anybody else was similarly pushing for that?
I'm not really sure on that. I would think Eric, played a big part in it, but I don't know.
No. Okay, then. A couple more things we'll mention on the NWO. One thing that we sort of bypassed was Scott Norton, one of my favorites, one of the unsung WCW heroes, in my opinion. Did he ever teach you how to arm wrestle?
No. I'm the worst arm wrestler in the world. I'm actually pretty good left-handed, but I pitched all through my whole career of my sportings, and my elbow was really weak, and but he's a legit like state champion you know.
And on Over the Top as well, I believe, the arm wrestling, but the only arm wrestling movie I think there ever was.
Yeah, it's definitely the only arm wrestling movie ever. It was good.
Yeah, it's a good film. It's a good film. So actually, I've already asked that. One thing I will go on to, just before I ask something else, because I've got a pile of questions for you. I do apologise for rambling. The Four Horsemen parody, you're part of it. And I know this is probably something you've been asked a million times before. Who do you play?
Kurt Hennig.
Thank you. You play Kurt Hennig. I couldn't remember if it was Mongo or not. Conan's Mongo. How much time did you have to practice the performance, or was it basically here's a wig, off you go?
Bro, I mean, I adapt, man. I adapt to the product, and that's why I've had a 30-year-long career, because I'm able to adapt. You know, I'm able to dress up like Ernest Miller and with the red shoes and make fun of him when I was in his angle, and which pissed him off after he okayed me to do it. And so, you know, it's just crazy. But I've been around these guys a lot, you know, and so I know how they talk and how they function. So it was just basically a no-brainer, you know, just on when I was going to do something, a parody.
Yeah. Would you have preferred to be Ric Flair, because you would have had maybe more to work with?
No.
Fair enough then. Did you realise, because obviously it's quite famous for, I think the Horsemen were particularly upset, or it was Arn Anderson, because Kevin Nash touches upon his alleged alcoholism at the time. Did you realise at the time when you were in the ring that they were watching and wouldn't be happy with it, or at least with Kevin Nash?
Oh my God, as soon as I'd gone to the gym, and as soon as I came back, I went into the room where all the NWO guys were, and I went, oh my God, this is going to be bad. And I remembered I had a styrofoam cooler in my car. And so I went and got the styrofoam cooler that he brought out. So guess who gets to eat? Me. Because I handed Kevin Nash the cooler. So, but, you know, that was a heated situation. It caused a lot of turmoil, you know, with the bosses and everybody else. But I thought it was really a fantastic, you know, segment.
There's a thing where if you can get the boys upset, then you know you can get the fans upset.
A lot of guys think that, and vice versa. If you can fool the boys, then you can fool the world. And that was Dallas's thing when we had the angle with Kimberly. You know, he felt like, look, if we can have a fist fight in catering today, I mean, a real one, and just you know, I mean, and I said, dude, I'm coming. I said, I'm not gonna look stupid on a pull apart kind of fight. My shirt was ripped off. I had a black eye. He had a broke nose. You know, so I mean, you know, we went there. You know, before security could get to us. You know, my shirt was ripped, and so the whole thing looked good. It really did. It's just they just knew. They just wasn't quite dumb enough to buy into. I was hanging out right in the lobby bar with Kimberly. So it just was kind of hard to believe that. Yeah. So
WCW has quite a history of trying to fool the guys backstage. Do you remember any particular ones that you weren't involved in where it was fairly obvious there was some play to fool you guys?
But I missed the question though.
Oh, I'll re-ask. So WCW likes to fool the boys to make them believe in something that isn't real. So like you and DDP had a fight there wasn't a fight, but you made it look like a fight in catering.
Right.
Were there any other instances like that you remember that involved you or didn't involve you, where people were being tried to convince that something was real when it wasn't?
Right. No, not really. It's just anytime, it's just a bunch of egos, man, a bunch of egos, and a locker room, and a bunch of, great body guys that are pro wrestlers. And me and Scotty just upped the game with the bodies, and we had two of the best. And, so it was just a big deal.
I'll move on to a couple more NWO questions. And you were talking about some of these guys in the NWO just shouldn't have been there. Anybody that comes to mind who was a member of the NWO that you looked at and just went, what are you doing here? God, I mean, to me, it just a lot of them, because it was supposed to be the young, cool, talent guys, and God, I love him to death, but like, IRS. I mean, to me, he's not an NWO guy. Scott Steiner's an NWO guy. Hulk Hogan's an NWO guy with the hoodie or the do-rag or whatever. I mean, it worked, but we had Big Bubba. I mean, he, which is Ray Traylor. I love him to death. And worship the ground that he walked on, and, God rest his soul. But at the same time, he just wasn't, to me, what we were looking for the NWO, and we absolutely watered it down too much. I'll give you a few names of maybe less regarded NWO members. You tell me if you think they should have been in or not. First one, Disciple, Brutus Beefcake.
He wasn't.
He was. No, should he have been, or would you have never allowed him in?
Oh my God! You remember how he looked? It was incredible. He was ripped and shredded, and he had a different look, and he had the vest, and he had that look I was talking about. He had that look. He had that it factor. So yes, I totally believe he should have been there.
Okay, Virgil.
Now maybe not working wise or not like that, but just as a bodyguard or as a Virgil kind of guy, and getting paid for it because he looked incredible during those days.
Yeah. Vincent/Virgil.
Another one that I don't think we needed. It just watered it down. I mean, dude, he will show up. He will show up anywhere that I'm signing autographs, and pull a table up beside me, and I'll go, Virgil, get the fuck away from me. I said, now, because no matter what, there is going to be some people that buy a picture from him or take a picture with him, and he's going to come out of there with 50 or 60 bucks, but that's 50 or 60 bucks he's taking out of my pocket. So he wasn't booked there. He just brings his shit, finds out where these shows are at, and shows up to the shows,
I've got a few more. We'll never be able to top the Virgil story. Horace Hogan.
I don't want to dog him because it's Hulk's true real life nephew, right? That's a shoot, right? I mean, and so I don't want to dog him. But then again, he just wasn't NWO material. He just wasn't. He didn't have the look. He didn't have the charisma. He didn't have the mic skills. Plus that, you're fighting completely against the wind with him saying, him being Hulk Hogan's nephew. I mean, my God, how can you can't You can't top that. And it ain't like we didn't push him. I mean, he got win after win after win and NWO and all that stuff. And we just could not get him to move.
I've got three more. Oh, sorry, carry on.
No, I'm saying just that, not that I mean, excellent wrestler. Excellent wrestler. But he didn't have that, like, I crawl over to the camera and get out in the camera's face and go, I'm buff and I'm the stuff and the girls can't get enough. That's NWO to me. Is the wild, wacky, crazy ass, wide open guys, not the guys that goes out there and does a regular match with an NWO shirt on and pins the guy 1, 2, 3 and raises his hand and walks off. I'm talking in every camera I can talk to, because there's 30,000 here. There's 20 million right there, so I want to go for the 30 million.
I'll give you a few more. Stevie Ray, Smelly Stevie Ray.
Yeah. Again, I don't think there's a spot for him there either. I just don't.
No.
But then again, and this is not, I got more black friends than I do white. I really do. So this is not racist or anything, but at the same time, you got to realize you do need, a cool black guy in the group to pull, to make, so we do have all of it. I think we should have had a midget. And I just thought of that. But I'm saying, really, we should have every realm of it instead of watering it down with old timers, and that just wasn't the deal.
So I'm going to say Dusty Rhodes. You're obviously going to say no because of the old timers.
No, Dusty had charisma though, so loaded with charisma. So Dusty could have pulled NWO for sure.
And the last one, David Flair.
Go look back at one of Hugh Moore's. Hulk's nephew. What's his name?
Horace
Hogan. Go look back at some of his matches. They're just blah. They really are. All the moves are great. All the techniques perfect. But there's more to it than that. You got to be cool when you do it. You got to act cool. You got to take it over. You got to make it, and we needed a black guy like that. I think Booker would have been a great NWO guy. But at the same time, you got to realize we needed some WCW guys too. So it got iffy for him, and it was rough.
And David Flair, of course, the worst NWO member ever.
Did he make it really?
Very briefly, in like early '99 or something. Yeah. It says it all, doesn't it?
It does.
I'll move on then. Well, you were speaking of somebody who's, a cool black guy. Did you have a party with Dennis Rodman?
I only met him, take a picture with him. And we partied a little bit together, but I didn't ever really get a chance to meet him. But he is a game changer. He is dye his hair 20 different colors. He is what NWO was. Which is being different, being cool, being whatever, But it was definitely about, that, so. And you had to look the part, man. That's the first catch. You got to look the part.
Absolutely. We're going to move on from the NWO a bit here. I'm going to throw this one at you and see what you think of it. Hog Wild pay-per-views, were they the most miserable events to work?
Absolutely not. Because we had our bike. Eric would bring our bikes. We'd have our bikes shipped there. So we had our own motorcycles in Sturgis, South Dakota. So it was great. He loved it.
What were the facilities like backstage, if there were any?
I don't know what to say to that. It's brutal. All the guys, piss on the lid, and just like every other guy in the world, that they don't flush the toilet, and it's just me and Lex 1,000 times would say, "Look, guys, we gotta be here all day." And the big wrestling thing is, and Jimmy Hart makes fun of this, is how guys wet their hair, and the floor's soaking wet, and that's okay if you're match number 2. But when you're main event, you got to walk in and out of wet ass floors. It ain't cool.
I've heard a couple of stories of the Hog Wild or Road Wild events where people crashed the bikes on like a pilgrimage to the event, or some people got so lost that they thought they died or quit.
Wow. I never heard anything like that.
No. I think it might have been like Rick Steiner or someone might have something to do with Rick Steiner's in the back of my head.
Well, he's a bike guy. We used to ride bikes together all the time, but him and Scotty both, we all three rode bikes all the time. But I don't remember that specifically, no. But like I said, it just really came down to having the charisma and the coolness and everything to pull off, to be able to be cool enough to do the handshake, to be able to cool enough to be able to say "for life," to be able to say, to bring the camera in and go, "Look at me." There's a plan to this. Cocky, cool, fun, entertaining. Entertainment.
Absolutely, and someone who personified that, I think, to a great degree. Scott Steiner, we've brought him up before, and I presume you went to the gym with him maybe once or twice, so I want to know yours and his best bench press, squat, deadlift.
Well, none of us deadlifted. That's just deadlift's a powerlifting thing, and all it does is just, it's something that could be done and should be done for lower back, not to have lower back problems, but we never did. We never did it. So, but me and Scotty's trained several times, but just great. But me and Legs trained the most. Me and Legs were the most trained guys out there. Together. So, but Scotty, he was a freak. 80 pound dumbbell laterals, and a lateral ain't like this. It's with your elbow up, with the 80 pound dumbbell right here. That's the lateral, because, there's 3 muscles in your shoulder, and people don't realize that. They think there's shoulders. Well, you got your front delt, you got your rear delt, you got your medium delt, get your middle delt. So there's 3 muscles. So shoulders really are and should be your hardest workout. But he was a freak on everything. But Lex, believe it or not, overall was the most impressive strength guy I'd ever seen.
I would have thought with Lex he would have gone for higher reps because he was always, slimmer and more cut.
Right. But yeah, but he just I don't know. It just, like I said, like for example, you said bench press. Me and Lex bench press a max one time in the last 30 years. And we still to this day are mad at ourselves for doing it, because you could have tore a pec or anything and been out of the game for a while,
What was the number? What was the number you pressed?
We put 405 on, which is 4 wheels on each side. And the bar actually is doing like the cartoon character where the bar's like bowing. It really does that at 405. And I didn't know that. So I'm real strong on chest and always have been. And but I remember I went first and I got it like 4 times and a little help on the 5th kind of thing. Mm-hmm. He came out and just did 10 like he was just a freak, man. He was strong in every body part, everything that you wanted to do, he could outdo you in it training wise. And I mean, like one day I told him this guy that was that trained at his gym got his pro bodybuilding card. And the guy's name was Pyam. And I said, hey, Pyam got his pro card today. He said, Lex being Lex in the old days, Lex ain't Lex no more. Lex is Lawrence Foal now. And I love him either way. But he's just much more humble, much more sweet, and just lets things, go that we used to let go. But he, I said, dude, the guy got his pro card, and he goes, Lex is looking at him, and Lex goes, he's too short. And I went, Lex, I said, easy. I said, for starters, it ain't like I'm a skyscraper. And he goes, you're acceptable. That's Lex Luger. And not a smile on his face, not joking, nothing. He was being dead straight up.
Did Lex ever enjoy himself during his wrestling career, or was he always just dead straight, just arrogant, let's say?
No, we had fun. Oh my God, we did things like, who could bring who had the coolest shirt, and we'd hide our shirts and our luggage till we got ready to go out and go, okay, we're going to do it on 3. 1, 2, 3. And see who had the coolest shirt, So Lex was a blast, man. Lex was a big part of my life and always will be. And I love him to death.
Yeah, I'd love to interview him as well. It's so, the 180 in his personality, as far as I can tell, I've never met the man, is quite incredible.
Oh, it's unbelievable. I mean, the deal with what he's gone through, to be the total package, Lex Luger, you look 90 in a wheelchair. I mean, bro, that's hard to swallow, bro. It bothers me to this day. It really bothers me.
Give me, if you can think of one more off the top of your head, give me one more classic Lex Luger story of just how he was in the back.
I got a great one. I got a million of them. He was stretching. I'm waiting on the couch in the lobby, like the where everybody signs in and all that. And for some reason, we're doing chest, but for some reason, he was stretching his hamstring. And I'm like going, let's train, man. Shit, I've been staying here. I've flirted with all the girls. I'm done. Let's train. And he had his foot up on the counter. And keep in mind, everybody that worked for Lex knew him, knew how he was. He was the guy that did. He's too short. You're acceptable. So I tell somebody that knows Lex, they laugh because it's, oh my God, this priceless Lex. But he was stretching his hamstring one day. I was on the couch going, what the hell is he doing? And some guy, which don't matter who it is, that's got a membership at your gym. Okay. Think about that. $50 a month membership. He goes, hey, Lex. And everybody just went and slowly started getting out of the situation because it wasn't going to be good. And Lex goes, swear to God, my life, Lex goes. He looks behind him. He looks back at the guy and he goes, are you talking to me? And he goes, yes. He goes, my friends call me Lex. He goes, and you're not my friend. And I just went, I'm trying to get under the couch at this stage. I'm trying to get under because I'm the happy Marcus Bagwell. Hey guys, what's going on? And Lex is the, towering through, coming through at 6'6", 280, shredded. And I got it, I got it. I loved it. And we always called ourselves in the 1 percentile. And we are, when you see a guy with a really good body and he happens to have a good face and to go along with it, you're in the 1 percentile of the nation, of the world. And so we always say 1 percentile, brother.
Not to correct you, but wouldn't you be in the 99th percentile if you were in the top 1%?
What now?
Isn't the 1 percentile the lowest 1%? I thought it was 99th percentile.
No, it's like, in other words, there's only 1% of the world that looks like us.
Yes, absolutely.
That's where that comes from. So that's why it's that number.
Okay. I'll ask a couple more, then we'll do the game. We'll finish off. I will thank you very much for your time. One thing I've got to ask, and I remember reading this many years ago. You and Lex and Miss Elizabeth are in a corridor at a Thunder taping in May 2000. A man with a carpet tries to get past you. What happened?
Daryl Williams. I'll never forget his name because it cost me $25,000. What happened was it was really the security's fault because this is when we were doing main events. We were doing both shows in the same building. So if you're a main event on Nitro, do you know how hard it is to get the crowd with you if you're main event on Thunder? It's really hard. So I've done that a couple of times. Well, we come walking out once all the 1 percentile prima donnas get their stuff together. It's late, but there's people everywhere. And Doug let everybody. It was just too much chaos. And Doug Dillinger was our head of our security. And so he tried. Our car should have been there waiting, and it wasn't. And that's what caused it. But during that process, I'm getting more ill. Lex is getting very ill. And this guy hits Elizabeth with the carpet. And it don't knock her down, but it's enough that you should say, hey, sorry about that. And he don't know that I've seen him. He's looking at Lex. And Lex goes, hey, bro, be cool. He went, oh, I'm sorry, man. He went behind his back. And I see it. And I said, hey, bro. I said, who you shooting your bird at? He goes, none of your business. One slap, a slap, cost me $25,000 because he tried to sue WCW. Well, WCW was going out of business, so he came after me. And he had a lien on my house. I had $1 million house, and he had a lien on my house and everything. So I was like, wow, what the hell? I had this happen. I had Hulk Hogan's lawyer. And, but, just after I slapped him, that was our penny pack days. And I remember going, we got in the car after slapping him. Wasn't no big hustle bustle to it. Nothing was really said. And I just smacked the kid for doing something wrong and dogging us out. Well, we had to go back to get my fanny pack. And when I do, Doug Dilger comes up and goes, "Where are you going, man?" I go, "Going to the next town." "Where are you going?" He goes, "You ain't going to the next town." I go, he hated my guts and I hated his guts. And he goes, I said, "Why? What's the matter to you?" He goes, "Because this guy's pressing charges on you hitting him." So we still try to sneak out, even though it was going to be, it was going to happen and going to come out. But it would have been later, Mm. But long story short, he threw the whole thing and just put us in a bad position, and cost me $25,000. Keep in mind, if you go pow, 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 that's still simple battery. And this is simple battery. So if I'm gonna lose $25,000, I want to do the pow, 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 pow.
You want to get your money's worth.
Absolutely. So I even called him up and I said, "Bro," I said, "do you realize, that you were wrong and you shot Luxembourg on his back?" And he goes, "Man, I'm just doing my lawyer said, Daryl Miller." God, that name will haunt me forever.
He claimed in court that you punched him upside the neck, which is the greatest quote in the world, and you left a fist print. Apparently, it was just a slap. You were arrested.
I never throw punches.
You were arrested.
My first swing is always a slap.
A warning shot across the bow.
And let me tell you something. It's got me beat up before, but it's got me out of about 90% of fights because they go, "Wow, I just got slapped by this guy that hard. I definitely don't want to get punched by him." Mm. And plus that when cops come, cops always look at your knuckles. Only thugs like me that fight a lot or was in trouble a lot know these kind of things. Mm. So I had a really good slap. I had a guy that slapped good enough to knock you down. And it's actually, and believe it or not, in Marietta, Georgia, it's called the Bagwell Marietta slap. And it's because everybody knows it. And it's like famous. So anyway, I met with his lawyer. Hell, they had me for 50 and it was getting bigger. So I called up the lawyer and I was like, "Dude," I said, "I don't know what my lawyer is doing, but I'm taking over." I said, "How can we do this?" I think it's 50 grand. I go, "I ain't paying you 50 grand ever." And we bickered back and forth to 25. And keep in mind, that was half of one of my biweekly paychecks. So, okay.
Yeah, you worked a week for free. You were suspended for 30 days, apparently. Were you suspended with pay?
Yeah, because I only remember being suspended without pay once, and that was over the South Padre Island thing.
I don't know that story.
It's a good one. You want to hear it?
Please, absolutely.
Spring break, 99, 2000, something like that. I'm wrestling Kurt Hennig, and he's putting me over, which is a gigantic deal. Big deal. That's huge to me. Because A, I loved him. B, he's a superstar. So he's having to put me over at spring break. And there was a bunch of kids, like 5,000 of them, out on the beach. And they're all like this. And we got the band, the stage up there, and everybody's looking and they got like a bikini contest going on, but it ain't a wet t-shirt contest. It had to get a little nasty to be fun for spring break, They were trying to do it G-rated Ted Turner like, and I was like, guys, this ain't gonna work. So long story short, the head of that did our marketing, her name was Donna Seaman. Donna Seaman, she walked up to me, she goes, Buff, please, I know you can do it. Please save us. I said, and I keep in mind, I'd already scoped out the whole situation. I'd already saw the kids. I saw what they were doing. I realized that it was going to take something pretty big. And right up there is my entire company of bosses. Eric Bischoff, J.J. Dillon, all of them. And they got a perfect view of all this. So I'm like, oh, wow, no way I'm touching this. Well, she comes up, she goes, Bagwell, please help us. I said, can I cuss? And she goes, no. And I went, I can't help you. And then she came back a second time and she goes, Buff, please, please, please help us. I go, can I cuss? She goes, no. About 15 minutes go by and she comes back up and goes, do whatever you got to do. So I grab the microphone and I get on stage with just a pair of like a flip-flops, backwards hat, sunglasses, and some shorts I borrowed from somebody. And I went, who wants to see some pussy? And the crowd goes crazy. I literally point at the girl and I point where I want her to stand. And she walks out. I grab her bikinis and I go straight to the ground and she steps out of them. Hey, number two, right here. She comes out, boom, boom. She steps out of them. I do 3 girls like that, and I take the mic back to Donna Seaman, and I went, there you go. You're welcome. And she was like, thank you so much, Buff. Eric Bischoff's laughing. J.J. Dillon's laughing. Everybody's laughing. The police are clapping on their bicycles. I mean, it is the coolest thing that's ever happened. It's so much fun, and everybody's having a blast. And so they, so after that, I get called into Brad Siegel's office, which is the president of TNT. And I said, I was in trouble for 3 or 4 things. Go figure. But all of them, I had my point. I won. I fixed it. And it was like not doing a drug test one day when I was in 11 out of 12 segments. And I said, dude, whatever's in my system today is going to be in there tomorrow. So it ain't like it's a big secret. So why can't we just do it today? And he's like, you're right. I'm with you on that. I said, me and Shane Douglas had to go to the mall and buy clothes for us because that's the night that we dumped red blood into the ring and we didn't want everybody's stuff to get ruined. So we went and bought clothes for like 12 people at the mall. Me and Shane do this, not on our own, but still somebody went with us with a credit card and but we're the ones that had to write down the sizes and shoes and all that. So it was a pretty big deal. As soon as I get back, they're on me. Can you pee? I said, baby, I got to get ready. I said, I don't have time right now and I ain't got to pee. So got out of that one. There was a second something that was over our t-shirts, over me complaining about my t-shirts not being out at a venue. And he agreed to that. He said, you're right. That's wrong for us. And there was a third thing that I was right about. And then came South Padre Island. And he goes, well, what? And keep in mind, I was on the front of Globe magazine doing this. And he goes, well, how, he goes, dude, tell me about this. I go, what? And I'd already got the story from the people from the company that there was not one complaint. There was not one arrest. There was not one incident leading to what I did. Nothing, no complaints, no nothing, nobody. It was just a fun filled thing that happened that all my bosses were laughing about. They thought it was great. And then I'm at his office and he goes, I said, dude, I said, are you kidding me? I go, that's cool. I go, that's something Buff Bagwell does. I said, that's cool. He goes, Time Warner don't think it's cool. And I went, oh, shit. And he went, we got to find you a month's pay and or fire you. And I said, well, I'll take the month pay for sure. And, you know, I said, but I mean, is it not getting paid? He says, you can stay home too. I want you to stay home and just chill out. I said, cool. I said, that's fine with me. Well, in my mind, I'm thinking 20 grand. But then on the way home, I start thinking a month. That's 2 pay periods. I go, shit, that's almost 50 grand. I'm losing. So I called Brad back up. I go, Brad, do you realize this is costing me 50 grand with no complaints again, no arrest, nobody was hurt? I said, what's the problem? And he goes, it's that or we got to fire you. I said, see you in a month. So me and my girl made reservations and went to Las Vegas.
It's a good place to recover. And win some of your 50 grand back as well, maybe.
Yeah, man, I did win 10 on that one. I never won in Vegas, and I won 10 grand in Vegas that trip.
We've got a few minutes left of our 2-hour slot, so this is going to be the finale, the firing line, as I call it. I'm just going to give you some names, and you tell me what you think about them. I'm sure for the most part you think they're all great guys, and we'll just go until we reach our time limit, and then I will thank you very much for your time and a very entertaining interview as well. The first name is...
What am I doing here?
Sorry, I'm going to give you some names, and you just tell me what you think of them.
Oh, got it.
Okay, Sean Waltman.
Great worker.
Mike Graham.
I hated his guts. He hated mine.
Any particular, as a wrestler, or as a producer, or
as everything? He just, he was short. He, for some reason, him, Bill Dundee, and Greg Gagne were 3 of our agents. And they felt like if this green young kid could have a job wrestling, why can't they? That's how they felt. But this young kid has got a really good body, and he's 30 years younger than y'all. So what are y'all arguing about? But they still wanted to work and felt like I was the step right before them. And so they were on me all the time about working the arm and working the leg. And I go, guys, that shit don't matter. I said, it's about entertaining people. I said, no matter what it is. So they hated me the whole time, and I hated them the whole time. So it was kind of a mutual hate.
Nick Patrick.
Worship the ground he walked on, and he thought of Buff Bagwell's name.
Oh, really?
He came up with Buff.
How, just off the top of his head, or was it brainstorming session?
We were on a flight home from Seattle, and it was time for me. I was getting extremely popular, and everything was working in my behalf, and it was just time to lose. It was time to throw a rock, a Stone Cold. It was time to throw a name in there. And we're trying to come up with a name for me. And then all of a sudden, in the back corner of the first class in the dark, you hear, "What about Buff?" And everybody just went. I mean, not another person said a word. It was just, that's it. That's it. Buff Bagwell. Oh my God, that's perfect. But WCW did not want to lose my name. So if you ever watch me come out, very rarely did you just see Buff. Very rarely. That's what I wanted. When The Rock comes out, it says Rock. I wanted to say Buff. Well, they had on mine Marcus, quotation marks, Buff Bagwell. They loved my name, and I don't know why, but they just wanted to keep my name in there. And so, yeah.
Next one, Lord Steven Regal.
Ups and downs with him, but I love him to death. One of the best workers I know. He's a legit badass also. And, everything I stand for is dead against Steve Regal. Like tanning and training and, all that don't mean nothing, to him. And so that's why we didn't quite get along. And then, but we always worked each other 1,000 times, and we always had great matches. He's a great worker. And I just saw him this last, the Mania WrestleCon thing we did. He was there, and he got from the table and hugged me and everything. And he's a great guy. He just always had a little bit of back and forth.
You said that you were hot and cold on him, and you were sort of the antithesis, if I can say it, to him. Did he ever get on you about wearing sunglasses? Because I know that's something he didn't like.
Who?
Regal. He didn't like wrestlers wearing sunglasses to the ring.
Never even heard that one.
No. Okay. I think that's something you may have said to Booker T or something like that. I'll move on, though. Miss Elizabeth.
She was great. She was, for 3 or 4 years, it was, Lex driving, me in the passenger, a cooler in the back left, and then Liz was in the back right. And she'd pass the beers up, and we had a good little team.
Mongo McMichael.
The absolute worst wrestler I've ever seen in my entire life.
He must have been fun to hang out with, though, if you ever did.
Well, if you like to snort cocaine, he's a blast. But there I go, telling the truth again.
Yeah. I'm going to defend Mongo. I thought it was a great interview.
Interview maybe, but you cannot find a match in the world that was good he's in. So it's called wrestling. So, yeah. And listen to me, I love him, Chicago Bear. We were great friends. I'm just being honest. He just didn't fit the role to be in the 4 Horsemen with his work style. He just wasn't that good a worker. He just wasn't.
We'll go again. Rick Rude.
Love him. He's one of that's who I got my finish from. I just made it from jumping and doing it and making it that instead of just doing the Rude Awakening. I did it with off the ropes and did it. So I always loved him, and he worked extremely snug, and I like that. if you can work without hurting the guy and be snug, I'd much rather have that, you know.
Brian Pillman.
Love him too. Great guy. You know, matter of fact, I'll give him even more than that. He's actually the first guy to save me and Johnny B. Bad's life. We were on the road, didn't know what we were doing, had no idea. And I didn't know that this 10-day run we had 30 years later would still be the hardest road trip I ever had. But the first 5 days was land, car, wrestle, hotel, sleep, get up, land, car, wrestle for 5 straight days, to the point where I almost quit. I was like, this is crazy. And then we got to Kansas City, and Brian Pillman, I hadn't worked out. I hadn't ate a meal. I was losing weight, everything I was against, not going to the gym, all that. And Pillman showed us kind of how to do all that, how to find the food and how to find gyms. And there was a good gym in Kansas City, and we were able to actually open our luggage and be comfortable. You know, it wasn't like, you know, getting 1 or 2 things out and closing it back and then going right back out the next morning to their airplane and all that. It was, you know, where he showed us how to live, but it came at a time where I was about to snap and needed, because we didn't have credit cards. Me and Johnny were broke. We didn't have credit cards or nothing. This is when I was on that $500 a week thing. And that's when I came back to Kip Fry and said, bro, do you realize I lost $400 this weekend? I said, you can't live on $500 in 10 days. You can't live on that. And so they gave me a contract, and from that point on, it was, you know, uphill.
A couple more then. Ultimate Warrior.
Don't really know him, but what I've ever met of him, I didn't like, because he was the guy that got his own room and didn't eat with the boys at catering. And, you know, he was a big star and we wasn't. And that's how, you know, even Hogan would come out with us and you know, and eat with us and stuff and hang with us and stuff. And everybody's got their opinion about Hogan too, but mine was always, like, judging those 2 stars, both being great big stars. Hogan smokes him to me. The only time literally, I don't think I ever even heard 2 words come out of Jim Hellwig's mouth. And he's from the same town I live in, Marietta. So Jim Hellwig, you know, he trained at Kegel's gym, and I trained there too when I was, you know, 16. So I'd see him in there like, God, look at that guy, man. And I was always asking him questions on diet and stuff.
I will give you a couple more then. Nasty Boys.
Oh, love them. Love to death. Me and Scorpio had some of our best matches ever with those guys. And me and Dell did too. So I personally had great chemistry with both of them. And they both, as tough guys, didn't like me at all at first. And then they saw me knock a guy out one night in Jacksonville, Florida. And after that, it was like I was accepted into the Nasty Boy clique, you know. Because at first they were like, Sting, why are you hanging out with that guy? You know, what is it? He's a fag. He's stupid. He's dumb. And he's like, man, Bagwell's cool, man. But nobody saw it except Sting. And then for some reason, it took me knocking somebody out to get some attention.
Paul Roma.
Me and Paul were real tight and actually fell out over a bet that I didn't know we made, that he said we did. And it was like a $60 bet. And I said, dude, I go, why didn't you just tell me I owed you $60 or something? I'd have paid it. I said, you held all this long, and now you're telling me about it? So, but overall, I thought Paul was a great guy. I think he's a great worker, great body. And we had great matches with him. That was during Me and Too Cold and Pretty Wonderful.
And the very last one.
Sergeant Stripes and Pretty Wonderful.
Yeah. The very last one, and paying tribute to the man because he died recently, Scott Hall.
What do you say? I mean, he's like Elvis. He's going to change lives, even in his afterlife, because Scott Hall was one of the most popular wrestlers in the world, and he'll always be remembered as that. And he was a great worker. He'd get on your nerves, and he was a tough guy and all that, but still, he's a legend, dude. He's just a legend, bro. I mean, that's the diamond stud, bro. I mean, he was.
How did Scott personally wind you up?
How did he wind me up?
Yeah, just comments that he'd make that would just go, just jar you.
I can tell you one right now, and I'm wearing the exact shoes that I had on the day he said it. we went to. I got a pair of shoes on right now that got like neon green shoestrings in them. Well, I had a shirt that matched that, and I walked up to Shoney's on Scott Steiner's opening of his store, and he goes, Bagwell, you are so easy to hate. And me and my girl just busted out laughing because I thought it was funny, because it's the truth. And I got it. And he goes, look, your shoestrings match your shirt. He said, you gotta be kidding me. And of course the boys they loved it because Bagwell was getting dogged out. So it was funny to everybody. And so I laughed too. It was funny.
And one more thought to end on with Scott. What made him such a great worker compared to his peers?
I you can't answer that question, man. It just is what it is, man. He had it. He just had it. I mean, even with me, he helped me tremendously. Like, I would wear American Male's outfits. I got little calves, and my pants would come down to a small calf and a small ankle. Well, he goes, bro, as good as your body is, you need to even it out and come up with a different boot. So he's who got me to figure out that boot I wore, the one that just pulls on, and it helped me for two reasons. You ain't got to lace your boots up every time you go to get ready, which takes an hour, and you just slip them on, you're ready to go. And it evened me out and helped me look like I had better calves, and I was more symmetrical. So he was that kind of guy.
Absolutely, a fine tribute and a fine way to end the show. I just thank you so much for spending so much time with me. I know it can be a drag talking to me for this long, and I know, trust, I have to spend this amount of time myself every day, so I do appreciate you spending so much time with me.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Right, so I will do the outro. Thank you so much for watching, and I think we've proven that Buff is still the stuff, and congratulations in continuing covering with the show.
I do want to plug one thing, if you
please.
don't mind. It's my website. It's MarcusBuffBagwell.com. If you go there, it's a one-stop shop, man. It tells you where all my Twitter account, my Instagram, my Facebook, my 8x10s, my DVDs. It's just everything that you want to know about Buff Bagwell or want to get there is on that.
I will make sure to include links on the video, the clips that come out and everything, so we'll drive some traffic to the website, hopefully. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and thank you very much for joining me, Buff.
Thank you so much.